We hold back the march.
This is absolutely incredible, and it's beautiful, you know, that all the people have come out. And I'm glad that the Van committee wasn't able to cancel it, that the people stood by their guns, and that the people in this community in the downtown East Side are able to maintain their presence throughout the Olympics.
As the most underprivileged neighborhood in a port city overrun with heroin, cocaine, and crystal meth, the downtown East Side's drug epidemic is staggering. It's now the most concentrated area of drug use in North America.
That's been a tremendous transformation in the neighborhood. Like, it could have been one of those issues where people got divided between good people and bad people, good citizens, bad citizens. And what happened was that people came together, and the drug users themselves started speaking out and saying, we have rights, and we need health care, and we need housing, and we need to have our rights respected. One
outgrowth of this movement is the Portland Hotel Society, which runs domiciles for people living with issues including drug addiction, mental health disorders, and HIV. The Portland also runs Insight, the only safe injection clinic in North America. It faces the constant threat of closure from the right-wing Canadian government. Mark Townsend is the Portland's executive director.
It came about because in the projects that we were working in, which were primary housing projects down here, people were dying. They were overdosing, and also they were, you know, sharing rigs, or if they were using the alleys, they were using puddle water and stuff, and it seemed that that didn't seem right. And it seemed that maybe we could do something a little bit better for people who are so pushed to the margins of society.
How long have you been coming to Insight?
I guess pretty much since I've been a user of needles, so about 3 years. They're great people here.
How often do you come here?
Probably about 3-4 times a day, minimum.
Insight has taken over 1 million injections off the streets of Vancouver. It's also had around $3.5 million of studies, and it concludes that there are some basic things that are obvious. It does reduce the spread of HIV and AIDS because obviously all the equipment's clean. Addicts that use this place are more likely to go to detox and treatment, despite the fact that the provincial or state government here, the police, the local city government all support this. The federal government, even though they don't fund it, do not support it. They won't believe the evidence, and they funded all the research, and all the research is relatively positive. They just do not believe it, and they don't like it. So they've dragged us and a couple of addicts here through court. We've won them every single time.
If this place were to close down, how would that impact your life?
Quite a bit, actually, because like, I know the staff here. They're great people. This is a great place. I mean, it's safe. You can come in here and shoot up, like, and not have to worry about the police coming to, like, arrest you.
Well, the immediate effect is like 1 million injections will be back on the streets and in the hours in the hotel rooms. The long-term effect is people will die, disease will spread, people will be less likely to go to detox and treatment, and it will cost the healthcare service more money.
Although Insight has taken over 1 million injections off the street, the widespread drug use still seen on corners and in alleyways underscores the severity of the downtown Eastside drug crisis. It's easy to feel horrified and judgmental. Those who work here urge compassion.
I work predominantly with women, and I can say confidence that approximately 70% of women that I know who turn to drugs because of childhood trauma, of sexual assault, and of child apprehension. And that, you know, addictions are they're a symptom of something. They're not anything in and of themselves. And there's reasons why people are addicted, why people are drinking, why people are forced into these desperate situations.
The many problems notwithstanding, what's also unmistakable here, and voiced by almost anyone you talk to, is a sense of community.
People look out for each other. You know, I don't think that happens much anywhere, you know, in any of the large city urban centers across the world.
This is the Guru Nanak Free Kitchen. We serve about 1,000 meals every Saturday and every Sunday.
After many years of doing this, what's your sense of the homeless problem right now in Vancouver?
It's been increased. We've seen new members. We've seen new people on the streets. A lot of the guys may not be homeless, but they can't afford to feed themselves.
Before the Olympics, a group of media activists established the Vancouver Media Co-op. Co-founder Don Paley.
It's a place for media makers who believe in social justice and who are part of movements or who are in support of movements, environmental justice, migrant justice, and specifically like anti-colonial, anti-capitalist struggles, to come together, to share ideas, to put out pieces, to work together, to support each other in media. We do trainings. People can access machines here. And yeah, we meet once a week, and now that it's Convergence, we've been here pretty much 24/7.
We fought for labor rights in this neighborhood.
We've squatted to get a park. We had to squat to get a fight to get a community center, and we fought and scratched and scraped for housing. So it's no surprise that the community spirit to fight for social justice is still alive and well in the downtown Eastside, and people are waking up and they're organizing.
When women are going missing and when women are being murdered in this neighborhood, the people who find out are not the cops. The people who are looking out for each other are other women in the neighborhood who are looking out for women's safety when they're out working late at night on the streets.
On the morning of the opening ceremonies, just hours before the games began, the provincial government of British Columbia announced a $10 million cut to programs for at-risk children. That's just one part. Days after the Olympics close, the government will come out with its next budget. And many expect that to have major cuts to education, to housing, to health care, and the arts.
So we're faced with a situation where we've spent a lot of money, not so much the city, but the national and provincial government on these Olympics, and yet the plight of poor and homeless people is not going to get better as a consequence of these Olympics, and it's in reality going to get worse.
The government needs to get their priorities straight and see us on the map here, and recognize us and acknowledge us, our people here. We're just as human as the rich people, Even though we're not as rich as they are, but we are rich in heart for caring and loving and respecting our people here in our country.
On the game's last day, people across Canada celebrated as the men's national hockey team defeated the United States in the gold medal game. In the downtown Eastside, there was a different cause for celebration. Less than 2 weeks after occupying that vacant condo lot, 41 homeless people living in Tent Village won a promise from the city to be placed in social housing.
Many have been homeless for a long time, and one guy, awesome guy, he hasn't slept in a bed in 8 years, and he's got a place. He's got his own apartment, and he's ecstatic, and we're all pretty stoked today. None of that would have happened without the Tent Village. There's just no way. No way. It's the Tent Village. It's people fighting in solidarity for their rights that got people housed today and yesterday.
A victory in the shadow of the Olympic flame. For Democracy Now!, I'm Aaron Maté.
With special thanks to Democracy Now!'s Nicole Salazar and Honey Massoud, as well as Julius Fisher of Vancouver's Working TV and the Vancouver Media Co-op. In these last few minutes, we're joined by Democracy Now! Producer Aaron Maté. What was it like, Aaron, to go home? Going to Vancouver was actually going home for you.
It was. It's interesting, Amy. You leave and you come back, and on the one hand, there's this huge hoopla and people in downtown celebrating. There were zip lines fastened to buildings, and people were literally flying over your head, screaming and hollering, and there's a lot of sort of celebration. But one thing actually we didn't get to in this piece was sort of this neo-authoritarian push that came along with these Olympics. There was a censorship put on artists, people who had to, if they took Olympic funding, had to sign contracts vowing not to criticize the Olympic Committee or the Games. In one case, one gallery actually had to paint over a mural it had put up of the Olympic symbol with 5 unhappy faces and 1 happy face, just to depict the artist's feelings about the Games. One happy face, but mostly unhappy faces. It had to be taken down. That was challenged, and then eventually it was put back up. But to come back to this weird struggle in a North American city, where murals have to be debated based on their feelings based on their statements about these Olympic Games, it was surreal.
It's amazing to think, since we certainly didn't get it in all the glitz, that that Vancouver's downtown east side is the poorest postal code in all of Canada.
It is, yeah. And what's striking is that it's literally just blocks from the main Olympic sites. Really, some of the things that we saw, that department store where people are lined up down the block just to buy merchandise, it's about a few blocks away from where the Tent Village was and where residents occupied this vacant condo lot for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's the poverty there is striking, and it's visible everywhere.
And the tent city did have a victory.
It did. It was amazing. This actually was just announced yesterday. This condo lot was a contentious place, and people were quite nervous about it when it was first purchased. It's seen as a site of gentrification. And so it was taken over, and people brought in tents, over 40 tents. There were campfires, people watching around the clock. They demanded housing, and they got it. The city awarded housing to 41 people. Every single homeless person that was living in Tent City that they could account for has now been given a place in social housing.
Well, I want to thank you very much for an excellent report, Aaron, and it's nice to have you back. Aaron Maté, Democracy Now! Producer, and that does it for our broadcast. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Shrufa Dukadus, Aaron Maté, Anjali Kamat, Steve Martinez, Nicole Salazar, Hani Massoud, Rabbi Karen, Mike DeFilippo, Peter Curries, Miguel Nogueras, our engineers. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.